We're going to start today with the film After Yang. Let's see a brief little description of After Yang and the filmmakers involved with it. So this is the second feature of the director Kogonada. I'm told I can call him K. And it has in its cast two incredible actors, Justin Min and Malea. They're going to join us as well, I hope. And here they go, Justin and Malea. So Kogonada, I have been a huge admirer of your films since your first Columbus, which starred John Cho. I remember rushing to a theater when I saw that John was going to be the lead and not just the fake starring John Cho meme that was going around at the time. Maybe Columbus started that meme because finally he did get a lead role and we were thrilled about that. But tell us about the origin of this particular film and why you set about going to make quote unquote After Yang. And I take some pride in the title, of course.
Yeah, Teresa Park, which is one of our producers, I met her in New York. She had seen a Columbus and wanted to meet. And, you take a lot of meetings and there's a lot of like, oh, what can be done? And, you walk away and usually it was great to meet. But Teresa, if you've ever met her, she's a do like if she says, oh, I want to, and she was like, I want to make a film with you. We're going to make this happen. She gave me some material. She said, any material. And she handed me this collection of shorts by Alexander Weinstein. She had one short that I think she had already optioned and I had read it. And then she said, if there's any other shorts there that you're interested in. And I said, oh, this Saying Goodbye to Yang, which was just a sort of quiet, sci-fi, and it just takes over a place in a day. And I just said that I could imagine making something out of that. And I mean, within a week, I think, it was not long before we had a meeting and it started happening. So it really came from this little short. It also came from Teresa, just like once I met her, I said, yeah, let's try to make something happen. But really this short was the spark.
And what about the short gave you that?
Yeah, I mean, it was it was such a grounded sci-fi. I know people talk about it, but really it was just so ordinary in some ways. It was just about a day in the life of this family and really this father who was dealing with, in his mind, it wasn't even a death, it was, it was just like a malfunctioning appliance. And this, as he's sort of starting to recall this robot, it really begins to open him up. Like Yang becomes almost a mirror to what is passing by him. And I just thought it was just so really lovely way of almost the discovery of loss. Like often when you deal with a film about loss, we all know it's loss, but here, it takes almost a journey for him to really confront the loss that this malfunctioning robot really is to him, and really begins to see, that relationship so differently.
So you set about to write a script, obviously, after you were able to get the option. What was it like? What kind of changes did you feel you had to make to the short story to develop it as a full-length feature?
Yeah, like I said, the story took place in a day, and it was really just flashbacks to memory. And I knew I just wanted to deal with memory a little bit differently, So, the thing that I was sort of, thematically, the sense of time and memory and place and loss, those were the things that were really stirring within me when I read it. And the thing I loved about this was that they weren't just ideas or abstract themes, but it were really grounded in family. And I thought, oh, I love a family drama. I'm just a big fan of Ozu. And I just thought, I'm really going to focus on the family. And so I knew I just wanted to expand every character. I knew that I wanted Yang to ultimately have a voice, and for him to be part of the vehicle of revealing our sense of time. And also, it was written by Alexander, who's not Asian, but, it was different once I thought about like an Asian robot and this construct of Asianness. And in a very weird, but maybe not so weird way, I felt like I could identify with him as a Asian American, someone caught in between. Like in some ways, his own feeling of alienation or his own construct and his own desire to really have a memory, a taste of Asianness. Anyway, I think that part I even wrote into it because once I started thinking like, is he even Asian? He's a sort of manufactured Asian? I'm sure, that's a question that a lot of us ask, are we Asian enough? What does it mean? So there was something even within that part of the story that I thought, I'm going to dig a little deeper into what that even means.
That is quite profound, I think, because many of us in the Asian American community are really contemplating our dual identities, or in some cases more than dual, triple, quadruple, and what does it really mean? And I think during the pandemic, and also with the rise of AI, these are questions that are just constantly swirling around us. What does it really mean? Can robots love? And you gave us such a wonderful base to further contemplate these issues. I also wanted to comment on something you just said, which is I did not know that Ozu was a direct influence of yours, but your exquisite framing, the stillness of the camera did remind me a lot of Ozu, and I can see that that was definitely something conscious. Are there other filmmakers that were highly influential to you?
Yeah, I mean, like Edward Yang, Hu Shaoxin. I mean, there's so many. I am very deeply inspired by Asian cinema, and I think that is, again, talking about like your connection and this desire for a kind of memory or a sense of being. There was something about Asian cinema, because I, like a lot of cinephiles, kind of came through the route of European cinema. I loved Truffaut, I loved Godard. I kind of went that path. And then really when I started getting exposed to Asian cinema, it had a different kind of effect on me, almost like a kind of memory, a vicarious, and it made me think about my parents in a different way because they were carrying all this history with them that I had kind of, as a child, you don't really always pay attention to until you're older and you're confronted by something that gives you a sense of memory. And then so it was, there's so many, I don't want to bore everyone, but they're embodied even behind me, I've just, they mean a lot beyond just film or a collection, but something that really has helped me wrestle with who I am in this world, and just beyond Asian identity, just what it means to be in this world and how to process it. So
it's interesting because a couple of the other filmmakers that I've spoken to also cited Hou Xiaoxian and Edward Yang as great influences on them. And I think that's something that's been very meaningful to me and others I know, is that we can look to Asia as a touchstone. Although I grew up in this country, going back to China gave me so much more understanding of parts of me. Now I just learned, you were born in Korea. Tell us a little bit about your upbringing, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I was born in Korea. We were an immigrant family, and my, I kind of grew up in a very working class environment, but my parents were, my mom was from North Korea, and she was, they had kind of their story, which, in many ways, is kind of like the Yang story. I think in many ways, we have these Yangs all around us who have their whole history, and we just don't pay attention to it, and as it was like a late discovery for me to open up my parents and realize like, oh, they're not just this like my parents, but they had these stories that, of time and love and loss, and and that's what I kind of started discovering. So, we came here and I just saw them as this hard working class family, but they always talked to me about art. There was a moment when I would watch a film and they would say, "Oh, that's Alain Delon." And I would be like, "Wait, how do you even know that?" And they were like real cinephiles. And my mom was very well known for this Japanese aesthetic in Korea. But to me, we were just working class, we were just struggling, but we'd have these conversations. So and that was just, we came here, and then my dad had a real, like, the Japanese culture was a part of, also I knew that was something that was a part of his history, but I didn't really realize it until I was older, how complicated that was for him. So much of, even now, in the films that I make and the films that I love, are about kind of extracting my own, my own sense of self and family, and being human.
That one of the reasons you have a Japanese sounding name?
Yeah, sure.
Well, I think as we all become better educated in our past, we've definitely seen how history is taught in a very biased way. We'll be able to, as you say, extract much more of our influences, and it doesn't necessarily have to be from Asia, but the full picture. When we read about, for instance, Japanese occupation of Korea, it's a byline. It's something said in passing. We don't really fully understand the influence on so many people's lives and the complexity of what that is, to have different cultures intermingle, and how to maybe feel a combination of affection and revulsion, or whatever it is.
That's right.
Everything is so simplified, and that's been a real tragedy for many of us who are seeking the fullness of our identities, is that we don't get all the pieces until we really dig.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of the, because I like that tension in me. I'm proudly Korean and I'm proudly Asian. I think the one thing about being part of the diaspora is that as much as we are floating in between worlds, there's an opportunity really to have a larger sense of Asianness, in a way that histories sometimes make it difficult to really kind of make those connections. And I think that tension, and like you say, the countering the simplification of what it means, and even those histories, which were also largely influenced by Western empires that were kind of creating, imposing ideas also. So it's been good, and something that ongoing for me, I think. Yeah.
Well, we're so lucky to have your voice and your creativity in the mix to help us explore this very, very layered territory of different cultures. I want to turn now to Justin, who many people know from Umbrella Academy, but who is Yang. We're my brother, Justin. What was it like for you to join Kogonada on this project?
It was an absolute dream come true. I have been a fan of Kogonada's work even before Columbus. I had followed his visual essays and then obviously watched Columbus and was so moved by that. And so when the opportunity came along to read for this part and read for him, I jumped on the chance. And so, that cliche phrase of like, never meet your idols because they never live up to who you think they are. Like that wasn't the case here. He was everything I thought he would be, and just a complete visionary. And what an honor and a joy to be a part of this story and part of his work. So I have nothing but really incredibly fond memories of the time that we shot this film, now almost over 2 years ago.
And have you wanted to be an actor for a long time, or did you have to go through a phase where you were pre-med and then like so many Asian actors? I've heard the story so many times. That's why I just had to put it out there.
No, I jumped around. I had quite a sort of a curious and exploratory personality. So throughout college, I've sort of dabbled in a lot of different fields. I started off kind of going into law for a second.
Not pre-med, but law. See, I knew there was something.
But actually, that was very self-inflicted. That was something I really wanted to try and do because I thought I would like it. Lo and behold, I didn't. And then I sort of dabbled in international nonprofit work, which I did for quite a long time. And then I did some journalism. And I think the through line in retrospect from all of these different jobs that I held was the power of storytelling. And I think that sort of led me to try acting for a bit. And when I got a taste of it, I ended up really enjoying it. And that's sort of been the journey ever since.
Your performance was so nuanced and so exquisite because you were a robot, but you were a robot who we learned had heart. And I was just really appreciating how you walked that fine line. What were some of the tricks or things that you told yourself to do or not to do when you were preparing for this role? How did you study for it, or how did you, give such a pitch perfect performance?
I appreciate that. I think a lot of that is really, again, due to Kogonada's direction, as well as the amazing cast members, one of whom is also here, Malea. There was a lot of discussion at the beginning in terms of how robot-like the character would be versus how human. And I think Kay was very strategic in the way of not giving me a full, clear answer. And the fact that we would sort of explore and find it together as we went along. And interestingly enough, when I first auditioned for it, I wasn't aware that he was a robot. I had just been given one scene. I believe it was that scene with Yang's character and Mika's character at the orchard. And there was nothing explicit in that audition that he was a robot. And it was just this conversation between an older brother and a sister. And so I played it like a human being, like an older brother would play it to a younger sister. And I think that really helped me because that's one of the things that I think Kay connected to in my audition. So we wanted to figure out a way to keep that bond between the siblings and between the family, and yet still have moments where you're not quite sure how human this character is. And this discussion about Asian identity is so vast when it comes to this script and this movie. And for me, growing up, there were so many moments where so many things were left unsaid in my family. I think it's a part of Asian culture to not say a lot of things, and you can sort of say so much in unspoken silences or through just a look. I remember like sometimes my family we could understand fully what each other was feeling and thinking just by a simple look. And so I wanted to sort of bring that sense of there's something always underneath, even though I'm not trying to give anything necessarily away in facial expression. So that was something I really wanted to tap into as well. And I would say the last thing, I just really tried to fill Yang with as much life underneath and secrets as possible. I mean, obviously the most obvious secret of all, spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen it yet, is the fact that he has these previous lives. And that was one secret that I think he held, but I think there are so many other secrets that I sort of kept inside as we filmed to just have underneath.
Well, I think other actors who've come before talked about always having that secret, Meryl Streep being one of them, always having a secret that's not revealed. But you had many secrets, and to tie it to the Asian culture or psychology and the way that we communicate is so touching for me personally, because I think we all struggle for how to enjoy silences and the negative space and not talking about things, but also when it's necessary to speak up. And I think we're all trying to find that right balance, because living in a Western society, it doesn't behoove us to not speak up. Right? And but to have those different layers in you as an actor, I think probably informed your performance so well, so richly. And I'll have to go read that short story now, but I don't know if that's something the author intended. Certainly, Kogonada seems to have drawn that theme out quite a bit. But yeah, there's many positive things about the flourishing of literature by or about Asians. I think that comes to light, and I just love seeing this adaptation of the short story to help us explore so much of what we experience on a day-to-day basis. Malea, my dear young friend Malea, who's 10 years old and is as mature as most adults that I know, if not more so. Malea, tell us how you came to be part of this family, this very interesting family. At this point, we might as well have spoiler alerts, a white father, an African-American mother, and a Chinese daughter.
Sorry, can you say that again? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
Yes, how is it that you came to be part of this family?
Well, my character...
The family, the family.
Kogonada said that he watched me singing the national anthem at an LA Galaxy game. And then after that, he contacted my agent for me to do an audition. And I didn't get the full script yet. I only got a few sides. And then, so I decided to read the short story so that I can know the personality of my character, Mika, and how I can portray her. And so I really liked the short story, and I felt like I could connect with it. And then I read the script, and Kogonada made it very beautiful, and I just really liked it. And then I did the audition, and Kogonada wanted to meet up with me and my family. And so then we talked about the movie, and we just talked a lot in general. And then, a few months later, I got a call from him saying that I got the part. And I guess it was just amazing because I got to work with so many amazing people like Justin, Kogonada, Jodie Turner-Smith, and Colin Farrell, and Haley Lou Richardson. So that was just how I got involved with it.
You were a little ahead of the game because Justin didn't know he was playing a robot, but you went and read the short story, so you knew, right?
Yeah.
Very tricky, Kay, to not tell Justin he was playing a robot and let him discover it on his own. And this is, I believe, your first feature film. Mm-hmm. How does it differ from the other performances that you've done before? Because you've been on stage, you've been in TV. Was there anything different about working on this film?
Yeah, so before this, I've been doing like Disney Channel shows, and I've always been pretty over the top, and I was always like exaggerating with my acting. And something that Kogonada actually taught me is that I sometimes have to tone it down a lot so that it can be more natural. So something I remember that Kogonada kept doing on set was, tone it down, Malea, tone it down.
That's interesting. Well, Kogonada's movies tend to be a little more toned down than others. Yeah. But to match with, I guess, the style and content of this particular movie. But you are so effervescent and effusive, and clearly when you sing and you belt out these songs, you need to put a lot of your energy in there. So now you get the full breadth of different kinds of performances. Mm-hmm. It's the film is so impressive. Can you tell people, Kay or others, what they can expect for the future of this? I believe A24 is already distributing it, but is there a date? Is there?
Yeah. I think they've announced recently that they're gonna release it in March. So it's right around the corner. So
Excellent. Well, it's a film that everybody should see because it has so many interesting themes, and also just your visual style seeing the performances of Justin, Malea, and others are so extraordinary. It's worth, I think, repeat viewing. Is there anything else that you'd like to say before we take questions from the audience, if there are questions?
No.
Oh, well,
Go
I
ahead.
have a story actually. So when we were filming this, I actually just lost my 2 front teeth. And so they were worried that my teeth would grow in the middle of filming. So I had to wear flippers. So I had to wear fake teeth. And it was not very comfortable. And I think it was also very hard because it was very fragile as well. So I had to take it off and put it on all the time. So that's just a fun fact.
Yeah.
That is a very fun fact. I would not have known that you had, you how did you lose your front teeth?
Well, so I was 7 or 8, something like that when we were filming. So I just lost my teeth at school, and it was just my baby teeth. And yeah, that's why.
I forgot that you lose baby teeth around that age. Of course, there is that funny, awkward stage where kids come out with a big gap. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
She was so remarkable, because those who are not comfortable, but everyone on both cast and crew would say Malea was maybe the most professional of us all. She was just was so present and was so really, she was just really great. And really, I didn't, the one of the things that impressed us, talking about Tone Down, the casting director, when the first time she auditioned her, we didn't know she could act. She had all the parts memorized, and then she, the casting director gave her a couple notes about in her own language of bringing it down, and she was really it was remarkable. And I remember I did have a signal. I maybe less than saying tone down. I had the signal where I do this thing in my face, like this, and she immediately, she would just that was a signal, and she'd give me a take where it was a little bit more plain as, but I also think she's, undeniably precocious. It's like she reminded me of my nieces. Is partly why I wanted to hire her, because I think Mika is undeniably precocious, and you can feel that in her performance. It's really lovely.
No, I think she was born, as an adult.
It's pretty.
Perhaps at home she shows more childlike side, but so poised and so articulate. And
thank you.
Yeah, you're just a marvel, Malea.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Justin, do you have anything you want to add to this conversation? I do have one question from an audience member, which we can get to in a minute.
No, not at the moment.
What else do you have coming up? Let's each of you just talk about that for a second, if you don't mind. What's on the horizon? Anything that you want to promote to your fans out here?
I am about to start filming a really exciting project that I don't.
You can't talk about.
If I'm allowed to talk about.
You're teasing us. That's not fair.
But it features some great Asian American cast members and
great
people involved. So I'm super excited.
When can we know more?
I would love to know as well.
Oh.
I would love to know as well.
All right. Well, we're happy that we're going to see more of you in something, some unnamed thing. We'll look for it.
I'm really excited to Justin's career, which is in some ways just starting, although he really, with Umbrella Academy and everything really has started with an explosion. But the one thing, we're talking about keeping Yang a mystery, certainly to me, and we did want a robot that we didn't fully understand, and he, even in his audition, and even now you can see the thing about Justin, and that all I think really great actors have it, is that sort of they have a sense of mystery where you want to know more. They have a world inside of them, so they can say a line, but in their eyes and their presence, there's a whole world, and that's who Justin is, because he has such a thought life and really introspective and curious. And even now, whenever I see him answer a question, I'm just like, who is Justin? I want to know Justin. And I think that's the and it's the same way as he embodied Yang. It's like you knew there was a world in him, even as he was answering questions, just in his eyes, you feel a world, you feel a world. And he's like that in real life too, which is really lovely.
As my friend Rosalind Chow said, yes, that he is like that in real life. What you see on camera is just a reflection of who he is in real life.
It is.
So, Kay, can you reveal anything about future projects, or is it not time yet?
Yeah, I think, there are a few things that I'm working on that I'm very excited about, but I can't, I can't say.
Okay. So actually, there's two questions now. One has to do with the.
Oh, I should say that,
Yes.
Pachinko, I was a part of the Pachinko team, which is a series for Apple Plus, and that should be coming out sometime this year as well.
Do you know when that's coming out?
I don't think I'm allowed to say, but yeah.
Geez, this is incredibly frustrating. No, but Pachinko is another much anticipated project. It's a very well-known novel that has been adapted. And so how many episodes of Pachinko did you do?
I did the pilot and 3 other episodes. So.
Fantastic. So very much has your fingerprint on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different media series, but for sure. I mean, I think the real visionary behind that is Sue Hugh, who's the showrunner, and of course the author. There's so much time spent before I came in, but yeah, I was able to come in and really be a part of this team that really cared deeply about this world and project. Yeah.
It's hard to imagine a better director given your background.
Oh, thank you. That's
so, and not just creatively, but also because culturally.
Right.
So one question is about Black Asian relations, and I'm not really sure if you have a strong opinion about that, but it's about, you say Asians opening business in Black communities and never giving back, and then other people. There's a lot of there's tension, obviously, and then someone says, "Why is there no soul food restaurants in Chinatown?" And when mainstream minority films paint Asians in a negative light, how can we change that narrative as filmmakers? And it says, Crazy Rich Asians, Shang-Chi, though popular, don't address the reality of Asians living in America. Does anybody want to tackle that question? I mean, your movie has already taken a big step forward in terms of that, because it's all part of one family.
I will say, in regards to the Black Asian community, I think more than ever, because I do know that historically there's been tension and there can be racism among people of diversity, but I think more than ever there has been a sense of coalition among the diverse. And I remember at the it was one of the, maybe it was the Spirit Awards. I remember coming to John Cho. At that moment there was a real Black Lives Matter movement, and she grabbed John Cho and whispered something to him, and John was just so taken, and she said to me, she said, "We are all behind you, John. We want you to know." And I think this sort of new sense of people of color, that we are all, regardless of our background. And I would say the same again with the diaspora of Asians, that we are in many ways, I think it's a shame if we tribalize ourselves even among the diverse, and that we would find unity there. And I feel that more than ever, So
absolutely, we have more of a shared experience, and if we put all the minorities together, we're a majority, and there's strength in numbers. But there is a shared experience, and there's a lot that's very relatable. And
I love the family in Yang, because it was very naturally a family. As much as it was Jodie, and it just felt like that's possible. It's possible to have that in the future, and so that's. Yeah, that's great. I don't know if Justin or Malea wants to talk about the representation or anything like that in films.
There's another question specifically for Justin.
Okay,
if
great.
you want to hear that. How do you transition from a desk traditional job to acting? How do you even start?
It's a great question. I can give my answer, but from every actor I've spoken to, I think every journey is unique. So unfortunately, it's not like most jobs where I can give you sort of a specific formula for success. It's an artistic craft in the way that it ebbs and flows, and there's ups and downs, and it's quite difficult. And sometimes you have no idea how it all works. But essentially, I came back to LA after graduating college and working in journalism for a couple of years, and was having a bit of an existential crisis in terms of what I wanted to do. And as I said before, I think I kept getting drawn back into some form of storytelling. And it wasn't some dramatic moment, but for whatever reason, it sounded like acting to me, because it sort of combined a lot of interests that I enjoyed, namely being up on stage, performing, entertaining, and also this aspect of storytelling. And so because of that, I thought I'd, just give it a go. And I remember literally buying that book, like Acting for Dummies.
I have such a book.
I had no idea. I had no friends or family or even extended social circles that were in the industry. So I had no idea. And it was around that time where I was considering this that a friend of mine was helping to cast a trash can commercial, of all things. And they were looking for someone, I guess, in my type. And so my friend, suggested that I audition. And so I sort of went haphazardly, and lo and behold, I ended up booking this trash can commercial. And it solidified for me in many regards that I really enjoyed the process and the collaborative nature of filmmaking, even in this small way, through this trash can commercial. And then sort of went from there, got a couple more auditions, got my first agent and manager, and sort of led me to where I am today. And again, I think when you look back at a career, it's easy to see the steps, but when you're in it, it feels quite hopeless at times. And many moments where I thought I didn't have what it took, and it was really difficult, and I thought I was going to pivot elsewhere, but something always brought me back, whether it was a play or a stage reading that I got to be a part of, that really reminded me like why we do what we do, and the power of being able to inspire or move someone through a story.
Yeah. I just would maybe toss out this final question, which could be for anyone, which just has to do with AAPI representation on screen. I mean, Sundance has given us wonderful movies to look at, but how do you feel about the future of seeing people like us on screen? Is it, Brian, what can we do to encourage the velocity of this growth?
I mean, I feel very encouraged. Even seeing the films that were represented right before this panel, there is I've said this even with Columbus, but I think it's beyond representation. It's not just about having Asian faces in the camera. It's about a voice and a sensibility. There's something that feels so distinctly Asian about so many of those. And it was beyond just having Asian characters, but I think that's what I'm very excited about. And you see it in literature. We were talking about that beforehand, that there are these really strong voices, and that every subject isn't about Asian identity, but you can still feel a certain quality of Asianness in the voice, which is very exciting to me. And again, as just with the coalition of all people of color, I see that, in the Black community and other, Indian community, that these voices in cinema that are having a moment. And I just feel like cinema has largely been defined by a kind of singular voice. So it's just exciting. I feel like there's a new era of cinema, and even in American cinema, that is diversified and also more female as well. So to me, it's just beginning. To me, cinema is just beginning, because we're finally hearing from a real diversity of voices. So.
Yeah, thank you. Well, this is all the time we have now. I could talk to you all day, all night long, but thank you all for bringing us this film that breaks new barriers still, that offers so many wonderful questions for us to ponder, and some beautiful performances to admire. Thank you. Thank you, Kogonada. Thank you, Justin Min. Thank you, Malea, for After.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, Janet. Bye.